Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today and welcome to the Specialist Trading educational presentation where today I want to talk to you about trading with a purpose. Now I know most of you, if you had to answer that question, would say, well Steve, I do trade with a purpose. I took a class on a specific technique or a method, or I watch the news, or maybe I go to that chat room and I follow whatever that person in the chat room is telling me. So most people would, I venture to say that they do trade with a purpose. But it's been my opinion that it's actually the opposite. And the way I like to describe this is, I've said this before in other webinars where I've spoken about this topic, trading with a purpose is very similar to the very first time I went to New York. When I was trading on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange, I had an opportunity to meet with the specialists in New York. So I had never been to New York. I went for the very first time. And one of the first things that struck me in the early, or I should say late 70s, early 80s, was the way the people actually walked down the street. I was walking down Fifth Avenue, and I remember seeing everyone walking as if they had a place to go at a certain time. No one was simply browsing the way they do where I'm from on the West Coast in Los Angeles. Someone just takes a walk and decides, well, we'll make up and decide what we want to do when we get there. In New York, everyone had a specific purpose. Everyone was going somewhere with a specific plan, a specific time frame, and you could see that in the way they walked. That, in a sense, is the very same way it means to trade with a purpose. You have to have a specific plan, a specific idea of what you're doing, where you're going, and how much time you have to do with that. For example, let's look at this chart, this current chart here. Oh, before we do, let me share with you what my mentors taught me. They said, Steve, the purpose of trading is simply to trade with a purpose. So you have to really have some sense of purpose in your trading. You can't just blindly take orders from some guy on TV who doesn't have any more validity than someone else does, or someone who's in a chat room, or some fly-by-night system that you paid $10,000 worth for. You have to really trade with a purpose, and this means making your own decisions. All right, now let's get to the chart I was originally talking about. Here's a current chart in UI, okay? Now, let's look at the way most traders would say they trade with a purpose. Now, coming into this chart in October, they would say, well, Steve, we're steadily going higher, and that's the definition of an uptrend. We have higher highs and higher lows. As you can see, every time we make a higher high, the lows are higher as well. So that's an uptrend, okay? So as we're following this, then we get to some type of top here. So that must be resistance. That's the institutions selling, or the big banks, the money managers selling. So that's why we stopped right here, and that's why they're putting pressure on it. Now at this point, we see that the direction is going lower. Now we have a series of lower highs and lower lows. As you can see here, we're going lower and lower. The lows are actually lower. And then lastly, you use the information you took in that candlestick course. You see you have a bearish engulfing pattern here and another one right here. So the market now is telling you that it wants to go lower. So you feel like you're trading with a purpose based off these ideals that you've learned over the years. And so you say to yourself, well, I just want a chance to get in. If I can get in just at a little higher price here and short this, this will be a great trade. And there's your chance right there. The market goes up on this particular day. This was on the 6th, just last week. So you say, this is a great place to short. So I'll sell. We're probably going to make a lower low. I'll make some quick points here. Maybe you buy the puts. Maybe you have some type of spread where it has a negative bias. Either way, you're very happy about your position. You're short, and then this happens. In the next 2 days, the stock just goes up tremendously. And what happened to trading with a purpose? All right, what happened to all the things that are supposed to work, all the traditional wisdom that's stood the test of time? It never fails, right? Well, let me tell you about standing the test of time, because the method I'm going to be sharing with you today actually didn't look at this as any type, in any way, shape, or form, as a sell signal. That very same day you were looking to go short, this method actually told you not to sell, but generated a buy signal, which potentially could have had you capturing 50 points in 2 days. So you're going to see how simple it is to apply this trading with a purpose, and you're going to see how simple it is to apply on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform that actually teaches you how to trade with a purpose. So welcome. This is going to be a great educational presentation. My name is Stephen Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies with one goal, that's simply to educate you, because that's how you trade with a purpose. Once you have an idea that you've been trading with sound fundamental methods and techniques that have stood the test of time, Then the next step is to be your own boss, to make your own trading decisions. This is trading with a purpose. When you're in charge, when you're not listening to anyone or anything else, but simply taking your cue from the market, the chart in front of you, you are trading with a purpose because you are making your own decisions and you're in charge of your own trading destiny. I know this because I've been trading for 42 years now, and when I first started trading, trust me, I traded the exact same way probably many of you are trading right now. I had no purpose. I was doing the same things that most likely you've done or you're doing, and I wasn't seeing the results. Well, in today's class, I'm going to share with you a couple of great techniques and methods combined together that can really help you trade with a purpose. But before we begin, as always, we're required by law to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using these techniques, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. As you're taking a brief moment to view our required disclaimer, once again, if you're new to my presentations, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I would suggest writing that down because I post a lot of great free information on a daily basis, anywhere from signals our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom. In fact, if you go there today, you'll see a lot of great free educational information. So please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statements, we are different from other webinars you may have attended in that we don't promise to have a system that never fails. In fact, I saw an ad, it was emailed to me today, where they had close to 1,000 trades and didn't have one loser. I thought, oh my gosh, I would never trade something that doesn't have a loser, because that's like saying, you know, I've lived in, back east in some state, and we have never had snow or never had a cloudy day. I mean, that's silly. That will happen even in the months where it doesn't happen that often. You'll still see it. It's just natural. In other words, the point I'm trying to make, there's nothing wrong with that happening. So we're not here to tell you that we have a technique that never fails. We're not here to tell you that we have statistics going back 10 years that show how this would really make you a millionaire. It's our belief that if you see those things, you should run. What we are simply is an educational company trying to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. When I was struggling 42 years ago, my mentors taught me this edge, which is rooted in simplicity, based in a few simple techniques that will really help you become a consistent trader. So that's my goal, not to force feed you signals or tell you what market or time frame to trade. Others, websites do that. My goal is simply to teach you so that you can be in charge of your own trading destiny. In my 42, going on 43 years, this is the only way I found that one can become a consistent trader. Okay? Now, I'm going to share with you a lot of examples today, since this is going to be a classroom, but I don't really want to stop for every slide to answer a question that so many other presenters do, because if we do that, we'll be here far too long on your Wednesday. And I know there's a lot of news, a lot of things happening in the market. So if you please wait till the end of class to ask questions, I promise I'll get to them. And also, we are recording this, so don't worry if you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues. We will send each and every one of you a link to this recording. All right? Okay, with that stated, let's begin. Now, in order to tell you how to trade with a purpose, we first have to realize how not to trade with a purpose, okay? So, let's discover that. In order to trade with a purpose, here's what you need. Firstly, you need a consistent trading plan that's based on market behavior, all right? Now, most of you, if you're thinking that you trade with a purpose, remember, we're going to focus on how not to. Most of you think you have a plan based on market behavior, but think of it. What is it based off? Is it based off the news? Is it based off what the institutions are doing? Is it based off of some convoluted indicator that you have no idea what it does or what it works or what it's supposed to do? Well, that's not trading with a purpose. You need a trading plan, some strategy, technique, or method that's based on what the market is telling you, not an outside source. You see, that's the first step that most traders have difficulty with. Most of their decisions come from an outside source. That's not trading with a purpose. You need it based on market behavior. The market needs to tell you what it wants to do, not someone or something else. And the perfect method to do that is the strategy I was taught some 4 decades ago. This was the first strategy my mentors taught me, strategy number 4. I continue to use it in some capacity on a daily basis. In fact, a little disclosure here, I had a trade earlier this morning where I made some money being long using strategy number 4. All right, so let's talk about the highlights of this particular method. It's for all traders, so don't worry if you've been trading 2 weeks or 20 years. It makes no difference. Everyone gets the same basic format, beginners to advanced, and then we work out from there to meet your needs. It was originally designed for traders looking to catch momentum, all right? So that meant we were in the trade 5 or 10 minutes. But don't worry, we've devised ways to stay in the trade weeks, months, even years if you'd like. Now its intensity level is right in the middle, a very moderate number 2 intensity level. It only uses one indicator. That's how simple it is. Remember I told you that in order to be a consistent trader, you need to keep things simple. That's the specialist edge. Well, it only uses one tool, one indicator, because it's basically based off of pattern recognition. I'll tell you what that indicator is. It's the 50-period moving average. Here's the way we use it. If price is above, if our entry is above, based off of the pattern, then it's okay to buy. In other words, we will never buy below the 50 and we will never sell above. That's one of the rules of this particular method. You can apply it to any time frame, any direction, and most especially any market. So a lot of our students like to trade, let's say, 2 markets, the Forex markets and maybe stocks. Great, you can use this for both. You don't have to buy 2 separate methods, okay? So a lot of our traders like to intraday trade, and then they'll maybe like to trade tick charts. Great, you can use this for that as well, all right? Now, members receive automatic buy and sell arrows, but please hear me out. We don't produce this on our platform just so that you don't have to do the work and you can just punch up signals and see where they are. You learn how to identify these setups, these signals, on your own, and that's what we want. We want you to get to the point where you can just on your own see that that's a buy or sell signal. The buy and sell arrows are provided for you to check your work. I'll show you that process in just a few minutes. Now, our edge here with strategy 4 and with all our methods is consistency. Now, most traders define consistency incorrectly. They think that that's a method that has a lot of winners. Wow, this is a consistent method. That means it hardly ever loses. That's not what consistency means. Consistency is an awareness that the method you're trading will have a loss. That's okay. Remember I said, like, it's almost implausible to think that, well, we've never had a cloudy day here in Los Angeles. We're having one right now. We had one this morning. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, that it's not going to be warm this week. It just means that that is totally normal. It's the same way with losses. You will have losses from time to time. So what makes a consistent method? A consistent method is one that can recoup those losses sooner than later. The way a lot of times a method will have you stay in these losses and generate more losses prior to making some wins back, okay? So that's what we promote here, consistency. So don't worry if you have a loss here. That's okay. In fact, I'll show you some examples later on in a few minutes how there were losses and how consistent this method was in recouping that loss, sometimes on the very next trade. All right, so as we state here, and I underline consistent, we need a consistent trading plan that's based on market behavior, meaning that a plan that will have losses from time to time, but it's based on market behavior and you feel confident in taking. Now, what if there were a way to kind of filter out, not all of those losses, but a good deal of them so that we can increase our odds for success even more? Well, that's part 2 in our plan to become trading with a purpose. We need a tool that filters out the bad trades from the good ones. And you've heard about me speak about this before. This is the PET-D. This is the best tool I know of for confirming and filtering out signals. Let's take a look at this older chart in Edna. How does this do this? Well, first of all, most traders would say, okay, we're in a bona fide uptrend here, and then while they're long, this happens, and then they give away all their profits or turn their trade into a loss. What if there was something that could give us an early warning of the trend changing? Well, we devised the PET-D into a color bar tool. All you do on our platform is click on PET-D and it automatically changes the colors. So we know that a series of green means we're in an uptrend, a series of red means we're in a short-term downtrend. And as it states here, the beauty of the PET-D is that it tells you which direction you should be trading. Once you know that, you can confirm if your strategy is in sync with that direction. This is how you filter out and confirm whether you should be taking the trade or not. So these are the 2 things you need in order to have a really consistent trading plan and in order to trade with a purpose. Now, when we combine these 2 together, we call them our dynamic duo. This is our most popular as well as consistent package we have at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. Students around the world trade this method in different markets, different time frames, and they just tell us how well it has helped them to become consistent. So let's show you the process here of what it looks like. Here's an older chart in STNE. All right, someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, yes, we were going up, but you know, look at this right here. This is a shooting star. I took that $5,000 class in the or course in the candlestick patterns, and this is a very negative sign. We've most likely topped. We're a reversal pattern here, and we're most likely going lower. So I want to short this and wait for it most likely to make a new low before I get out. Okay? Once again, this is how most traders make their decisions, not based off of consistency. I have nothing against candlestick patterns. In fact, we have a course that deals with candlestick patterns, but we look at them in an entirely different way that most traders do. And the most traders look at them in a very inconsistent level. Now, right here, if you took our course, the Dynamic Duo course, you would spot that most likely this is not really any way, shape, or form a downtrend. We're actually generating a buy signal. So you think there's a buy setup somewhere in these last 3 bars. The way to check your work, you click on strategy number 4 on our platform. In the drop-down menu, you'll see the signal arrow. Click that on, and this is how you learn to properly identify signals. Remember, we're an educational company. We're not just providing you up and down arrows so you can blindly take them. That would go entirely against our philosophy. Our philosophy is to teach you how to make your own trading decisions based on methods that have high levels of consistency. Now, I stopped looking at arrows years ago. I can just look at a chart and tell you where a setup is automatically. I want to get you to that point as well. So the arrows are there for educational purposes only. So at this point, you have a buy signal generated by strategy number 4. Now, what we want to do is confirm it. So we click on the PET D on our platform, and it automatically changes the colors. Here's the process. If you see a buy signal outlined green by the PET D, and remember, we don't care what the bar was before. The bar was red, and these were other green, and that's okay, but all we're concerned about is the buy signal. That's the signal bar above the arrow. If that is colored green or outlined green, then you have confirmation coming from the filter, the PET D. So you can take that trade if you like or not, but you have a high level of consistency. Strategy number 4, along with the PET D, creates the dynamic duo, and the stock went up 14 points in the next 2 weeks. This is how simple trading can be and how consistent you can be when you're using the right tools and the right methods, okay? Rather than focusing on something that has no relation to the market. All right, so let's look at some more dynamic duo examples so you can get a good idea of how this process works. All right, here's an example in letter O. This strategy generated a buy signal, okay? This was in the beginning of October. In order to have a high level of consistency, you want to add the PET D. You apply the PET D, and you see that this bar is green, outlined green. Now, all the other bars were outlined green, and that's a good sign, but all we're concerned about is the signal bar. So it's giving you the confidence to take the trade, and a quick 5 points coming into November. Now, if you missed that, there were other signals generated along the way as well. All right, let's look at ETSY, Etsy, okay? 2 buy signals generated, all right? Now, how do we know we should take them? You know, because strategy 4 is very consistent, but remember, there will be trades that don't work out from time to time. Well, let's apply the PET D. And both of these bars are green. So this is telling us we can take the trade. Doesn't matter what the previous bars were. All we want to do is take these 2. So let's just say we took the first one, okay? We have a next day. We got long, next couple of days. Nothing much is happening, and then this happens. Most likely, if you used one of our standard stops that we teach you in the course, you would have lost about 4, maybe 5 points, okay? Now, here's what most traders do. I've said this before because when I was first starting to trade, I did the same thing. Traders love to play the victim game, especially when they try out something new. They say, oh, gosh, you know, I took the bait. This stuff doesn't work. You know, why did I do this? Why did I get involved with this? Of course, this guy's just like all the rest. None of this stuff works. I lost 4 points on my very first trade. Oh, God. And you go and sulk. And when you sulk, the worst thing is you miss new opportunities. Because remember, it's all about consistency. It's okay if you have a losing trade. Because while you were sulking in the corner, guess what? A sell signal was generated, and it was colored red. So it's time to get back in the game because you could have potentially made back 12 points. That would have covered your loss, and if you wanted to stay in that long, you could have made even more. Now, in our course, we teach you different exit levels, different stop placements, even different entry points. So not one size fits all. We know that everyone has different risk parameters. We know that some people like to stay in as long as possible. Others like to get in and out quickly. This is the service we provide. But having said that, you still could have had the capability to make back your initial loss. All right, let's look at another example in Facebook. Okay, this was the last week or so in October. A buy signal was generated here. We add the PET D and we see it's colored green. So we have the confidence to take this trade if we want to. Now, I know it's expensive, so it doesn't mean you have to buy the stock. You could purchase calls. You could, have some type of spread with an upward bias. It's up to you. We're not an option class. We're not telling you how to buy this. We're just sharing with you high probability setup. So any way you want to enter is entirely up to you. And that would have been a wise choice because the stock went up 12 points coming into November. How about this sell signal, WWE, okay? Now, someone would say, well, Steve, we're in a range here. Every time we come down, we bounce. Every time we come up here, we sell off. I don't know if I want to sell this because most likely we're going to stop and go back up. Well, that's based off of faulty information. I used to trade range patterns years ago, and there's no consistency in that. Just about the time you figure out it's a range, that's the time it's going to break that range. So all we want to do is listen to what the stock's telling us. And according to the pattern we teach you in Strategy 4, that's a valid sell signal. Now, if we want to increase our odds for success, we apply the PET D. And yes, the PET D colored it red. So now we have the added confidence to take the setup if we want to. And that would have been a good decision because a couple of weeks later, we made 15 points. Now remember, had you sold, you could have said, well, see, Steve, we're in a range pattern. We're not going any lower. But what happened here, okay? It's not like we knew we were going to gap down. It's just the point that the market tells you when it wants to go lower. Not some earnings report, not some guy on TV, the market. Let's look at a trade here in Apple. Now someone could say, well, Steve, Apple really bounced here. I don't feel like buying it at the top. Listen, if the market is telling you it wants to go higher, who are we to object? Now, if we want that added confidence, we add the PET D, and we see there that not only is signal bar green, but all the bars have been green. So this is a high probability trade, whether you want to take it or not. On the 31st, on Halloween, you could have gone long Apple, and another quick 12 points coming into last week. Here's an example in ABMD, okay? Now, this is what we mean by consistency, and this is what we mean by the PET D being the best tool I know of for confirming and filtering out trades. This is a valid sell signal, meaning that the pattern in the stock was generated that strategy number 4 is based off of, and all the requirements were met, and so it told you to sell. But in order to take it to the next level, let's add the PET D. In order to sell that, that bar should be colored red. Now, I know a lot of you say, well, Steve, it's a down day, so most likely it is colored red. But when we apply the PET D, you see the PET D just doesn't color a bar red because the bar went down that day. It has to be confirmed by the translator. The PET D is a translator. It translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do at that moment. And at that moment, even though it was a down day, the PET D still colored it green. The PET D was saying, yeah, this is like, a cold day in the middle of summer. It's an aberration. It's not going to last long, and most likely it'll be warm in the next couple of days. Same thing with this. This is a down day in a short-term uptrend. It's probably not going to last long, and most likely the market will be going higher. So this is not confirming. We should not take this trade. Good choice not to because, as you can see here, we went up much higher, and you quickly, sidestepped a loss. Now, as my mentors taught me, some of the best trades are the ones that you never take. All right, let's look at AXE. Buy signal was generated the first week of October. We apply the PET D to give us the added confidence, and not only is this bar green, but all the bars are green. But remember, all we need to know that's green is the bar above the arrow. So we have the confidence to take this trade, 18 points coming into the first week of October, okay? All right, 2 sell signals. Which one do we take? All right, let's say you haven't gotten involved in this and you were kind of sitting there going, boy, should I take this trade or not? This is how the PET D can help you. It's your translator. So we apply the PET D, and the very first down sell signal was colored green. So that's not a confirmation. Even though we went down for one day, we quickly bounced back up. So we don't want to take that signal. But the very next sell signal in the middle of October was colored red. You see here, these are two down days that are colored green. Here's the first down day that's colored red. Just because a day is down does not mean the bars are colored red. The PET D can also color down days green. It can also color up days, as you see here, red. Okay, so this is confirmed by the PET D. This is the one you want to take, and yum, 16 points coming into the first week of November. Another buy signal, I should say, an MVRO. Once again, most traders would say, well, Steve, you're in a sideways pattern. Why do we want to take this? Well, because the pattern generated a buy signal, and then when you add the PET D, it confirmed it. So this is a high probability setup, once again, coming into November. Had you taken that trade, you're either buying the options or buying the stock, well, nothing much would have happened in the first week. So this is where most students give up. They say to themselves, this is not going to work. I've been along this thing for a week. Nothing has happened. Yeah, but you really haven't lost much. Just because you have a red bar here does not mean that the trade is going against you. You have your stop in place. You have your exit in place. Trading is like fishing. If you're doing it right, it's similar to fishing. You just simply wait. It's very boring. You cast your line and you wait for a bite. That's the same way trading is. You sit, you do the rules, you follow the process, and you wait. Now, you waited 4 days here. Nothing much has happened. And then look what happened on the 5th day. Big gap up of 22 points. Most of our students email me and they say, Steve, how did you know that? There was some good news that came out. First of all, I don't know it. I didn't decide that the market was going higher. The market decided, not me. So these signals are not coming from my personal preference. They're coming from the market. And the market's telling you in advance it wants to go higher. Now, these are not predictive points. We do not know how high or how low something will go. That's up to you to decide where you want to get out. But the good news is we teach you different exit levels in the course, upwards of 6 or 7 different exit points we can teach you, 6 or 7 different stop placements as well. How about this sell signal in W, okay? Once again, all the requirements are met according to the pattern that we teach you in the course. Just to give us added confidence, we add the PET D, and yes, it is red. Remember, we have a down day here. What color was it? It was colored green. And as you can see, we never went lower. Another down day here, and we still went higher. But this day is telling us it's confirmed. The PET D is a translator telling you that right now the market wants to go lower. And then according to the pattern of the method, it's also telling you it wants to go lower. All the decisions are based off of the chart in front of you. Not from me, not from some guy on TV, not from some earnings estimate, not from the jobless claims. It's coming from the market. That's the only thing I listen to. I stopped listening to news or outside noise roughly 40 years ago. So if you decided to take this sell signal in letter W, that would have been a good idea, because in the next week you could have profited by having a potential gain of 30 points, okay? Here's an example in MPC, okay? A buy signal was generated in September. All the bars are colored green. Coming into November, the stock has gone up 15 points. Now, the good news is if you missed that first one, there are more signals being generated along the way. You see how the PET D colored all the bars green, even when you had down days. The PET D was still saying, these are just down days in a short-term uptrend. They're mostly should be looked at as buying opportunities as opposed to, oh, it's a down day, the trend has changed. Okay, here's what we mean by consistency, and here's what we mean by the PET D being the best filter I know of. The market's going lower, you have a buy signal right here, and looks like it turned into a loss. So how do you know you want to take this other buy signal? Well, we apply the PET D, and as you can see here, this was an up day, but it was outlined red. So we never would have taken that signal, nor this one. So these were two buy signals that were generated because of the pattern that strategy number 4 requires. Now, remember, there will be losses from time to time. The beauty is the PET D kept us out of these trades. Now, look what happened. The market really went lower, so you didn't have a losing setup. And once the market really told you that it was going lower, look at the sell signals that were generated on the downside. You could have potentially captured 30 points in SHAK. Here are two signals. One's a buy, one's a sell. Which one do we take? Well, this is where the PET D comes in handy. We go long on the first one, No, because it's colored red. It's outlined red. So we're not going to take that signal. But the sell signal is outlined red as well, colored red. So we're going to take that one. AYI dropped 23 points in one day. Okay. Someone could say, well, how did you know that? We didn't know that. We just listened to the market. If the market tells us it wants to go higher, we're a buyer. If the market tells us it wants to go lower, we're a seller. Now let's go back to that first example we saw earlier in the presentation in UI. Remember where most traders were saying, well, Steve, the classes and all the money I've spent on learning how to trade said that this is resistance and we're in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, and we have two bearish engulfing patterns. All right. Once again, all my decisions are based off traditional wisdom that really has shown no levels of consistency. If you think these things work, take it from someone who traded them 42 years ago. They didn't work for me then, so why are they miraculously going to start working 43 years later? They're not going to start working. Let's listen to the only thing we should be, which is the chart in front of us, okay? That's the pattern of strategy number 4. It generated a buy signal based off this pattern. In order to confirm it, we apply the PET D, and even though the previous 4 bars were red, we don't care about that. All we care about is the outline of the signal bar, the bar above the arrow. That's the one we're concerned about, so it confirmed this trade. This would have been a great trade to get involved in because you could have potentially made 50 points, 5-0, in 2 days. Now, I know a lot of you say, well, Steve, I don't trade daily bars. Well, let's look at a couple of weekly scenarios, okay? Let's say you're a swing trader or you like to trade more for a longer term. Let's look at HAL, okay? This is Halliburton. I believe this is a weekly chart starting last year around this time, how it's been steadily going lower. If you applied the PET D was giving you lots of information how low it was going to go. But once you apply strategy 4, look at all the opportunities you had that were confirmed for the market to go lower. There was only one that was not confirmed. That was this one right here. But that's okay. Had you not taken this one, the next week you could have gotten short again for potential capture about 10 points or so. Now, just because we trade weekly bars doesn't mean the process changes. Nothing changes, in fact. For example, if we look at this weekly chart of Netflix, this is going back to April of last year. All right, so the market's been going higher. All right, so right now at this point, you're saying, well, wow, this has been going up for so long. I'm not sure if I want to get long this or not, but strategy 4, we check our work and we see that we click on signal arrows, and yes, there actually is a buy signal. And you study your work and you say, yeah, it's a valid buy signal. It's what I learned in the course. You should buy this. But say you're a little bit gun shy, you want a little bit more confidence, so you apply the PET D, you click on the PET D, and it changes the colors. So we see here that all the bars have been green. Look at this sell-off here, where most traders would say, okay, well, I've got to exit my long-term position because we're going lower now. The PET D is telling you these are just sell-offs in a short-term downtrend, that these in no way should be looked on as selling opportunities. They're actually buying opportunities. And on this first update, the requirements were met. Strategy 4 generated a buy signal. It's confirmed. So this would have been a wise point to get in or buy more shares of Netflix because the stock went up over 100 points coming into the summer, okay? July and August. All right, so let's recap before we go into question and answer. I tell you about a great opportunity you have to trade with a purpose. Remember, in order to trade with a purpose, you need 2 things. You need strategy number 4, which is a method that's grounded in consistency and only listens to one thing, the chart in front of it. Now, a consistent method means that you are aware that you will have losses. Is there a way to filter out, not all of them because we know that's impossible, but to filter out a large majority of those losses? Yes, with the PET D. This is the second part in the process of trading with a purpose. When you combine these 2 things, the PET D, which is the best tool I know of that determines what the short-term trend is, you have what we call our dynamic duo, the most popular as well as consistent package we have at Specialist Trading. It's traded by literally thousands of students around the world in multiple markets, multiple directions, and multiple time frames. Now, the best thing is we teach you how to spot and identify the dynamic duo setups, and we also make it simple on our platform. All the examples you saw today were signals generated by easily using our PTS Primo charting platform. This is the platform that teaches you how to trade with a purpose. So ask yourself, do you think these edges could have helped your trading this past year? Now, we just have a little over a month left in 2019. Are you anywhere near where you thought you'd be at the end of the year? When you made yourself that promise last year, January 1st, thinking that you're going to have a great trading year, are you anywhere near reaching those goals? I can almost promise you that the majority of you are not. And don't worry, because trust me, when I was trading years ago, I never reached my goals until my mentors taught me these simple things grounded in simplicity and in consistency. That's when I was able to be consistent. So how would you like to be consistent, starting off in the right track in 2020? Here's a great offer we have for all the attendees today. It's an amazing discount, roughly about 40% discount. We're going to offer you our Dynamic Duo. This is our Dynamic Duo special. This is strategy number 4, along with the Pet D. You're going to get instant course access. Remember, I told you there are upwards of 6 or 7 different exit points that I didn't talk about. There's roughly about 6 or 7 different stop placement and entry points. You're going to get all the access to that, along with the automatic buy and sell arrows. And with the Pet D, you also get 4 more trading techniques. These are not strategies, but techniques based off the Pet D alone, okay? Now, we're not going to just stop there. We're going to throw in 12 months, a full year of being able to use the PTS Primo charting platform. You're going to make it so simple on yourself because everything is one click away. You're not going to have to go into a box, edit it, look for the indicator, look for the charts, look for everything to make sure you have a right setup, then look to apply the Pet D. Everything is one click away. Now, normally, 12 months would cost you close to $1,800. We're not going to charge you $1,800. We're going to give you 12 months entirely free for becoming a student of mine in the Dynamic Duo course. This is a great opportunity to become familiar with all the things we want to teach you, and to many more opportunities as well, because there are so many things also included with the PTS Primo charts that we're going to give you. Now, obviously, you're getting strategy 4, along with the Pet D trend identifier, but you'll also get proprietary exit levels. This is something we have on our platform that automatically generates the exit levels for you. For example, here's an older chart in EW. A Dynamic Duo setup was generated right here using strategy number 4. It was confirmed. Now, in order to determine one of the 7 different ways in which to exit, all you would do is click on strategy number 4, and in our drop-down menu, you see range extensions. These are one of the categories for exits. If you click that on, it'll automatically generate the exit levels for you. This is included to all of our Dynamic Duo users on the platform. So had you taken this very last exit point, well, you could have potentially captured 18 points in 1 week. You would have put a limit there to exit the trade. Now, not only are you going to get that, but you're also going to get over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators to experiment with. But probably the thing that I like the most is our signal scanner. If you're not able to be in front of your chart all the time, you can scan for Dynamic Duo signals. Let me share with you how you can do that. Once again, when you click on the strategy number 4 tab, before you've learned about signal arrows, range extensions, now you click on Scanner. This page appears. I've talked about it before. We provide you with lists of symbols from different markets, different exchanges. Whatever one you decide to use, you click on Load Symbols and it automatically appears. Then just click on Scan. And in about 30 seconds or less than a minute, you'll see a series of green or red horizontal bars. Now, the green bars mean there's a buy signal in the corresponding stock. The red bars mean there's a sell signal. It's that simple. So you can come home at night and see what the signals are for the next day, and you can decide what you want to trade if they meet your risk parameters. Let me share with you an example that happened this past week. All right. Here's a scan that took place in ROK. All right. This was on the 8th. This was just last Friday, I believe. Now, roughly, let's say a couple of minutes before the close, you could have ran a scan and seen that there was a buy signal, or you could have ran it over the weekend because I was on Friday. Either way, you would have seen that a buy signal was generated. You know that it met all the requirements because you know how to properly identify them, but you don't want to look through hundreds of stocks. So you're thinking about this, I like this. I've been watching this stock. There's a buy signal. In order to give you the confidence and to confirm it, you click on Pet D and see what the color was. Remember, we cannot take that signal if it's colored or outlined red. So what does the Pet D tell us? Well, it tells us that not only is that bar, but all the bars have been colored green. So that's confirming. That would have last Friday, just about 3 or 4 days ago, told you that it's okay to take this signal. Now, how you want to get in is up to you. You could have purchased calls that day. You could have, on the next day, purchased the stock. It's up to you. But either way, in 2 days, you could have potentially captured 30 points. Now, this is not something we made up. I know a lot of webinars like to show you great, captures of trades that happened maybe 6 months ago or a year ago. This happened just last week. A 30-point gain on a dynamic duo setup that you could have scanned for using our proprietary scanner. You also have access to Bloomberg TV and personalized tech support. This all comes with 12 years application of our platform. So let's break it down. How much is this going to cost you? What's the great discount we have for you? Well, normally strategy number 4 would cost close to $700. The PET D would cost close to $3,000, and a full usage of the PTS Primo charts would cost you close to $1,800. If we added that all together, you're spending close to $5,500. We don't want to ask you to spend that much. We know it's getting towards the end of the year. Money's going to be tight with Christmas, with the holidays, expenses for the end of the year. So we're going to give you a great discount, roughly 40%. We're not going to charge you $5,400. We're going to charge you only $29.95, which includes the 12 months of the PTS Primo charting platform. And on top of that, even if you can't come up with the $29.95, we're going to give you the opportunity to make a payment plan. So if you can't come up with a one lump sum of $29.95, you can still be a member of the Dynamic Duo course with a small lump sum, a small deposit, and you can still be up and running and make payments on the Dynamic Duo course. So this is a great opportunity to get involved, to have me as your student. And one thing I didn't mention here, you get ongoing educational correspondence with me. You get my personal email address. You can email me whenever you'd like, over the weekend, middle of the night. I sleep very rarely these days, so I'm answering emails sometimes at 2 or 3 in the morning. It's a great way to learn from a person who's actually trading this and been trading it for over 4 decades. Here's how to take advantage of this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. I developed a platform with them, and they're in charge of all the tech support with the platform. They're also in charge of all the discounts. So if you want to put together some type of a payment plan, I would strongly recommend calling them. There's absolutely no obligation at 310-598-6677. They can structure a payment plan with you, and you can, for a small deposit, still be up and running. Now, that link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to the sign-up page and more information about the Dynamic Duo course. It's not a live link, but we've posted a live link in the chat box on the far right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar column. So all you have to do is simply click that on in the GoToWebinar column, okay? Now, I told you I would take the questions at the very end. So if you have a question, now's the time. Just open up your question and answer box and type in your question, and I will automatically answer it for you. All right. Question from Ray saying, are your systems automated? Well, firstly, remember, I don't know when you came into the presentation, Ray, but at the very beginning of the presentation, I said the only way one becomes consistent is by making your own trading decisions, not letting an outside source make the decisions or trade for you. If we were to have our methods automated, that would be going entirely against our philosophy, because once again, we would be going into that category of not having you responsible. Let someone else or someone trade for you. And remember, that's not how you become a consistent trader. I mean, that would be comparable to having, your, what's it called, brain surgeon automatically let someone else, or have the brain operation automatically done for you or automated for you. I don't think you'd feel too comfortable doing that. You'd want someone there. It's the same way with trading. Don't rely on anyone or anything else. You have to be a trader, all right? Trading was not meant for it to be automated, so you can simply walk away and let something do for it. Trading is a process that has to have you, involved. So no, we do not have automated system development. In fact, we don't even trade nor teach systems. All of our methods are strategies. Systems, once again, take you out of the game. The system requires you to trade the same way each and every time, and basically turns you into a robot. A strategy allows you to differentiate. That's why we give you 6 or 7 different exit points, 6 or 7 different entry points, 6 or 7 different stop placements. Some of our members take the same trade and come up with entirely different results. And we encourage that. Trading should be that way. No two traders should ever trade alike. So this is why nothing is automated, and this is why we don't teach nor trade systems, because no two traders should ever trade alike. We only teach and trade strategies, okay? People ask, can your currency, or should I say, can your PET D work on currency pairs or commodities? Yes, they can work on any market, any time frame and any direction. Another question I see someone's asking, does this work intraday? Yes, I didn't have intraday examples, but I trade intraday. I trade the futures strategy with the PET-D intraday. So trust me, that's mainly, I'd say the majority of my trading is intraday futures trading strategy for dynamic duo. So if I trade that with levels of consistency, I'm sure that you could do it as well, okay? Okay, no further questions. So as we are at the end then, if I don't have any more questions, remember, if you have a question later on that comes up, don't worry, simply email or call Pro Trader Strategies. Once again, I would highly recommend, if you're anywhere near interested in becoming a part of this course, please, there's absolutely no obligation. Call Pro Trader Strategies. They have qualified trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be happy to answer any question you have concerning price or the platform or tech support for actually no obligation. They're not there to sell you. They want to help you. We're an educational company first. Remember, we're here to educate you. We're not a vendor. We're not simply to pass on some system that you blindly take the signals. We don't believe in that. We want you to learn how to apply this highly consistent method that I've been using for over 4 decades now. So there's absolutely no obligation. If you have any questions about a payment plan or about pricing, don't worry. They would be happy to answer them with no obligation involved, okay? So as you see in front of you, that's the number to call, area code 310-598-6677, and the link is posted in the chat box. Now, as we take one last look at our disclaimer, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to come today to hear this presentation, and I really look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Dynamic Duo course and in really starting out 2020 in the right direction, okay? Remember, call Pro Trader Strategies if you have any questions. Thank you so much, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine next year. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.